Hey y'all, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch me draw and talk about some movies. Today's topic will be Daredevil Born Again, more specifically my final thoughts on Daredevil Born Again Season 1, which overall definitely had its moments. But general thoughts right out the gate, I thought it was a pretty solid show overall, especially when you compare it to what other Disney Plus shows have come out. It is definitely the best, I would venture to say. And it's not really that close. I think Loki would be considered to be slightly below what this season was. And as a follow-up to the original show, it was also pretty solid. The characterizations were all pretty intact. A lot of that would be thanks to the cast returning from the old show. And generally, it was pretty entertaining all the way throughout. I watched pretty much every single episode right as it came out at 9 o'clock every single night for the whole 8 weeks that it was airing. And it has definitely earned some interest for season 2, which I will gladly sit and wait to watch. Coming right out the gate, I think that it is very apparent that there were a lot of reshoots for this show because, as everybody knows, the original version of the show wasn't too good, and Kevin Feige watched what they had, didn't really like it, and decided to fire everybody and bring back some people from the Punisher show and the directors of the Loki television series and try to fix the show the best they could. And I know that usually doesn't work for a project, which is just throwing a bunch of reshoots at it and hoping that it'll fix it. But for this one, it low-key worked. It did a lot of magic, and this show is a whole lot better than what it was going to be originally. It's very clear which episodes are reshot and which ones are from the original cut of the show. Episodes 1, 8, and 9 were all very clearly completely new additions to the show just because they seem more tonally in line with the original. The characters seem a lot more true to their original selves from the Netflix version, and the plot as a whole seems to have a stronger sense of where it's going. It's a whole lot more cohesive. But that being said, even the episodes that aren't part of the reshoots were still okay. I would venture to say that the original version of this show wasn't awful, but I wouldn't call it worthy of being called the successor of the Netflix TV series. Because although they are very different from what most people were probably wanting from this show, they still have a lot of charm to them. Like the entire thing with Muse and White Tiger and all those episodes that seem a little less focused on what was going on in the original show, they were pretty entertaining in their own right. Like, I really enjoyed the episode of them defending Hector Ayala, and especially the big twist at the end where the Punisher cop decides to kill him. I do wish that they would have gotten around to the Punisher a little sooner than they did, because it felt like they teased it and then they kind of just let it go, which was kind of disappointing. But they eventually made up for it in the end, where the end was pretty much a Daredevil Punisher mini movie. But in general, the original version of this show was probably decent, but it was definitely lacking in some action and some service to the people who liked the old show, and they would have been really disappointed, myself included, if they just completely ignored everything that came before. And it was definitely doomed from the start if they were going to kill off Foggy off screen and not even bother bringing Eldon Henson back, because that probably would have immediately turned everybody off to the show, except for a small amount of people. With all these reshoots, there's one episode in particular that really seems like it wasn't touched at all by the reshoots and just completely accurate to what the first version of the show would have been, and that was episode 5, With Interest. This episode was definitely my least favorite of the bunch. It was released in the week they released 2 episodes, and I was really excited at first because I thought we were going to double down on the plot, and then instead it turned out to be a side quest episode and then another episode where they followed up the plot. And I've seen people defend this episode. I understand why people would defend this episode, just because it is interesting to see Daredevil in a situation like this. But they took this episode and they put it in a really poor place in the show, because up until this point, this is episode 5. We've only got 9 episodes this season, and the episode 4 ends hinting that we're going to see Daredevil come back the next episode. And then you go into a side quest adventure where he is just broad daylight in a bank, and it seems like it just slows the show down to a crawl. And it really cheapened the viewing experience for me because it was a completely skippable episode, and I know I would have rather seen it be done in a special presentation rather than a episode right in the middle of a show as the plot's starting to pick up. And plus, the whole entire thing with Kamala Khan's dad, I mean, he was okay, but it wasn't exactly what most people were logging on Disney Plus to watch Daredevil for, and there was no real showing of Fisk or the BB report or anything else that was super consistent with the show. Just felt really out of place, and I almost would have rather had an 8-episode season and just remove this one and throw it up some other time than to, you know, cheapen the entire experience of all the other episodes. Charlie Cox was still great though, and you know, all the actors gave fine performances. The action was pretty solid. The leg break scene was pretty cool. So if anything, at least we got a pretty cool trailer shot out of that. I gotta talk about Fisk and Matt and their character arcs a little bit as well. It was really cool, the angle they chose where it was them both trying to fight their inner nature and appeal to the system, only to discover that they were incapable of doing that and they needed to be able to work outside of the confines of the law as their arcs paralleled each other. I will say it was a little on the nose at times because the subtext is there. I don't know if it's necessary to intercut between action scenes, like maybe one action scene, sure, but I don't think that it was a good idea to have almost every scene with Matt and Fisk starting to turn back to their old ways just intercut between the two of them, because it kind of pulled me out a little bit. The substance is there, the characters there, the performances are there. It was more of an editing issue, and I kind of see where they're going with that, but I'm hoping that they'll lay off that a little bit next season. Then again, I didn't mind it that much. It's just me nitpicking because overall, actors all brought their A game. Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. Charlie Cox is Daredevil. Muse is also a character that exists this season. He was a strange fella. I don't know a whole lot about Muse in the comic books. I know he is essentially the same character as in the show, only he has a little more power and he survived past his first appearance. Some people have talked like Muse is a big deal in season 2. I don't know exactly where they would fit him in, but if they can find a way to fit him in, I would like to see that. I really liked the performance of the guy playing him and the whole entire sequence where he's in the office with Heather and he's, you know, about to kill her. Like, intensity was there without a doubt. I was just waiting on Matt to crash through, and then the fight sequence in the office was also really solid because I really just enjoy seeing a fight scene in this show where it's all clearly shot. You can see all of the different punches and kicks and throws and all that other stuff going on, especially the shot where Daredevil's billy club shoots right through Muse and he pulls him along the floor of his canvas. That was pretty neat. It reminded me a lot of how Fisk's painting got the blood on it, and in general Muse was pretty good. I am a little disappointed they killed him so early, but at the same time, from what I understand about the plot to season 2, there isn't a whole lot of room for him, so I understand why they would cut him out a little early. Bullseye is returning from the old show. He was very well utilized. I like that they use red to highlight Matt a lot in a lot of the Daredevil scenes. He's lit in red, and as a mirror image they light Bullseye in blue a lot of the time. That's a neat little parallel there. It could just be me looking a little too deep into it. I like that he goes and he's kind of a loose cannon. It is pretty interesting that Vanessa Fisk is the one that hired him to kill Foggy, because that was a reveal that actually got a lot of, you know, shock value out of me. I was pretty shocked by that because I'm not a huge comic reader. I want to say I heard that's in the comics somewhere. It was really interesting to see Ben Poindexter get out of a psych ward and hear Agent Nadeem get his name dropped. The conversation between Matt and Bullseye when Bullseye's trying to get him to defend him and then he breaks out of jail with his broken tooth. All that was cinema. I love it. I'm super excited to see Wilson Bethel do some more Bullseye stuff. I hope he just keeps going further off the rails. It's really fun to see him just really cut loose as time goes on. How he started out this really straight playing FBI agent and now he's kind of just a complete loose cannon. It's super fun to watch. And also the new characters that were in the show. I somehow managed to call Kristen McDuffie Candace Owens. I don't know where that came from, but the new characters are definitely in this show. That's about all I have to say about that, other than it seems like in the old version of the show they had a lot to do, and in the later episodes of the show when the new writers started to have a little more influence, the new characters kind of got pushed off to the side to make room for the old people, which I think is completely fine, because as much potential as I thought Kristen, Cherry, and Heather had, I really was just wanting to see the old cast back, and it was pretty cool to see how none of the new characters were believing Matt when he was trying to warn them about Fisk, and then all the old characters come back and everything's kind of right with the world, and they believe Matt, no problem, and they start helping him. I'm glad that they decided to bring Karen back. I'm excited to see season 2 because obviously she's way better than Heather. I didn't dislike Heather as much as a lot of people did, but she definitely wasn't my favorite character in the whole cast. I'm interested in where her character will go when she's working for Fisk next season. I would probably bet that she is going to die. Speaking of people dying by Fisk's hands, in the finale, there's a whole lot that goes down, including a scene where Fisk crushes a guy's jaw off of his head, which is pretty gnarly. It's way gnarlier than anything in even the original version of the Netflix Daredevil. It's pretty gruesome. It almost felt like it was from a different show. I'm excited to see that Fisk is not holding back. It makes him a whole lot scarier when you know he's capable of doing things like that. And the rest of the finale as a whole was pretty interesting. Obviously, the bits with Punisher and Daredevil working together. Every scene between Punisher and Daredevil is just really good. They have such great chemistry, and I love that the intensity's still there, that Matt doesn't want Frank to kill people, and Frank just keeps being himself. And I'm really curious to where the Punisher special will go. Final thoughts for season 2. We are left in a place where Fisk has the city under martial law, and there is a huge ban on vigilantes. I really want to see Spider-Man. I know that everybody makes fun of people who say that, but like, it obviously affects him because he is one of the longest operating vigilantes in New York City. Like, it's gonna have a huge impact on him. I'm curious how this will affect Spider-Man 4. I believe that season 2 will probably have the return of the Defenders and whoever else they can gather together. I would really like to see Spider-Man make an appearance, but I don't know how possible that is legally. They might do something with the Hand and Foggy Nelson. Maybe Foggy gets revived. It's really hard to tell. I've seen set images of the new black Daredevil suit. It looks really cool, and they finally put the logo on there after all this time. And in general, it looks like it's going to be a really solid follow-up, and I think it will probably be a lot better than season 1 just because the new creative team is in complete control and they seem to have a better grasp on what the people want. So overall, this was a pretty solid season of Daredevil. I wouldn't say it was quite up there with the Netflix quality, but that's a very high bar to reach, but it is still comfortably better than any other Marvel Disney Plus show that they've released so far. I will gladly wait for season 2 and the Punisher special, and maybe, just maybe, Marvel's back. If you enjoyed Daredevil Born Again season 1, please go down in the comments, let me know what you thought about it. Even if you didn't enjoy it, let me know what you thought about it. I'd like to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch me draw and talk about some stuff, and I guess I will see you next time. Bye-bye.